So how can you avoid being a complete noob when you go to your first co-angler event? Stay tuned, it's coming up. Alrighty y'all, Lou here from Beyond the Bounds. This is a channel geared towards bass fishing and gear reviews and tournament footage. So if you like that sort of thing, click that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified when I release new videos. Today's video is going to be about how not to pretty much tick off your boater and be a complete noob at being a co-angler when you get on the water. Now, this is part of a series in a playlist, so make sure you watch the other videos in this playlist because I'm not going to go over every single thing right here. It's not going to be, oh, these are the best presentations for every co-angler event. It'll always work no matter where you go. You know, there's a bunch of information to talk about this topic. And frankly, you probably wouldn't watch a 40-minute video. So I'm splitting it up into multiple videos. So go check those other videos out in this playlist and, you know, see the different tips and things that I have available for this topic. And being a co-angler is something that I truly have a blast at being right now because it's given me an opportunity to learn from more experienced anglers. I've never come into this being like, oh, I'm the most experienced angler there is. I'm God's gift to fishing. That's never been me or my channel. I'm about showing the progression of being an angler and trying to reach those upper echelons of bass tournament competition. So let's just jump right into it. All right, so number one, you're gonna really just need to go with the flow, guys. You're not in control of the boat, you're not in control of the fishing, you're not in control of where you're gonna be fishing or pretty much the style you're gonna be fishing. If you're an up shallow type person and that person takes you out deep, you're gonna be put in a situation to where you can learn a lot, especially if that person's confident in their deep game. So, you know, really just go with the flow. Enjoy the experience, enjoy the surroundings, enjoy the fact that you get to get out there on a day, you've paid your money, you get to compete, you get to have fun, you get to meet people, you get to learn new things, so just enjoy the process. Sit back and smell the roses because it's a great opportunity for you to just learn and become a better angler, which is exactly why I'm doing it because that's what I want to show with my YouTube channel, with the fishing content that I bring to you. I want to show you someone who's just trying his best to learn, to become a better angler so that he can compete at the higher levels. So that's the number one thing right there, guys. Just learn, learn, learn. Ask yourself questions while you're on the water. For instance, I learn a lot through the osmosis of going through the process, through mimicking, you know, watching how somebody maybe delivers a bait versus, you know, just like plop or something like that, but watching how they approach something. Maybe they come into an area a little bit differently. You can learn tons by sitting there and just analyzing every single thing that person is doing. Why did they make that cast the way they did instead of just throwing it out there and letting it plop? Why aren't they making long casts? You know, why are they just making short pitches in front of the boat when they're fan casting? You know, take that into consideration. What type of baits are they using? Why did they make the decision to run to another part of the lake when they were already doing well here? Why were we catching? Why every time he was catching stuff at one point, did we drift off of that spot and now he's not catching anything and now he's returned to that spot and he's catching again? You know, so pick up on those things because that's when the boater can do things that are gonna benefit them at times and not benefit you at times. So, you know, the more you're analyzing, the more you're trying to learn from the experience, the better off you're going to be at the end. Don't go into this thinking that whole mentality of, oh, I've got to cash a check or this ain't worth it. You know, I don't go into events thinking like that. I go into events thinking this is just another opportunity for me to learn, to get better, and not only that, to do something that I enjoy. So don't go into it with the mentality of, oh, I've got to win or I don't feed my kids kind of thing. One, you're a co-angler. And two, that's just that puts you in a bad spot to where you're not enjoying the fact that you get to go out there and fish. There are plenty of people who don't get to enjoy that fact. So enjoy that. Relish those moments, guys, because those are what you're going to look back on and truly cherish about being out there on the water, even on a day to where maybe you just caught one fish. So you're going to have to roll with those punches when they come. Keep analyzing everything that your boater's doing, how they're doing it, the baits that they're using. Pair that with your knowledge of the time of the year, the seasons, the moods of the fish, and just learn. It's also possible at that time to learn from other boats as well. Maybe you're seeing another boat that has pulled off of something or they're fishing in another area. take mental notes of those, because you could come back to that area later and fish that spot and figure out why that other boat was there. Also watch what rods they're using. If they're using white rods like ducket rods or something like that, and you're seeing a specific cadence to the way that they're doing things or how they're jerking things, you can tell a lot by just watching those other boats. And those white rods, they'll give it away. Be extra particular and be extra focused on things that are going around. All right, so now let's go over something that's going to be very dependent on a lot of factors. Rod selection. So how you pick your rods, how you set up your rods are really going to dictate a lot of things for you. And even line sizes, guys, even things as simple as having the right line on the right rod can make a huge amount of difference. If you're trying to, say, tick grass on the Potomac and your bait's just not getting down, maybe you're throwing a square bill or something that's just not getting down to that bait, that depth that it needs to, and the line's prohibiting it from getting down to that depth and ticking the tops of that grass and getting hung up in that grass so that you can pop it, because let me tell you, something as simple as that can make the difference. It made the difference for me in one of my tournaments. Matter of fact, my first BFL as a boater that I participated in, that was a huge difference in whether I could catch fish or not. Making the right rod selection, rod and reel selection, is critical, and there's going to be no right combination for every single tournament. Now, there are definitely combos that you can take that are going to help you deliver a bunch of different presentations on one rod, which is what you really want to do. You want to maximize the amount of presentations with the minimum amount of rods. You can take about 6 rods. 6 rods is going to get a little bit bulky and cumbersome in the area, and you know, your boater some boaters might look at you. Some boaters won't give a two poops. But you know, some boaters will. So you know, you're gonna have to gauge that person when you first meet them or you first talk to them. But also, once you first talk to them, you know, when you get your FLW text right after the captain's meeting that tells you who your boater is, talk with them about the presentations that they're throwing, how they're fishing, because likely they've been fishing for a couple of days in preparation for that tournament. So definitely try to maximize the amounts of presentations that you can throw. This is the Lew's Custom Pro Speed Stick. I've got it paired with an 8-to-1 Super Duty, 8-3-to-1 Super Duty speed spool, because you know, this would be kind of something that I could throw jigs on, heavier, deep presentations. You see, I've got kind of a 2-hook Hog Farmer Alabama rig on here, and you know, it's a heavy presentation. So anything from you know, sea rigging out deep, I could throw on this, jigs out deep, jigs up shore, jigs under docks. Even though it's a heavy, I could still skip them under there. This is going to do a lot of those presentations that you're going to be throwing as a co-angler, and the 8-3-to-1 is going to allow you to pick up line super fast in those situations, because that's one of the things that's further down on this list of things that you need to know to not be a noob, is you got to get that line in fast sometimes. Now, I'm not saying go out there and stick 8-3-to-1s on every single rod you have, but just know that, you know, there are times that you're going to have to get that line in because you need to go net that fish that your angler's bringing in, and you don't want some line hanging off there that the fish can go in, get wrapped around, and really complicate things. But you know, having a heavy stick is definitely a good presentation just to have when being a co-angler. One stick that I'm highly going to recommend is the TP1 series speed stick by Lew's. It's a $100 rod. I've got this paired with a speed spool CSB, MSB, I always forget it. The code on it is a CG1SHL. The L is for the fact that I fish all left-handed, but this is a very versatile rod because it's a multi-purpose rod. You can throw spinner baits, crank baits, jigs, Texas rigs, anything you can think of pretty much that doesn't require a heavy action rod. This one rod, this multi-purpose TP1 series by Lew's, will do it, and it'll do it effectively and efficiently because it's got enough backbone that you can boat flip all day long with this. You know, doesn't matter the size, it's got the backbone to do that, but it's also got enough play in the tip and the sensitivity that it's going to allow you to like I said, throw a variety of presentations, get good hook sets on those presentations, and get those fish in the boat. So that's why I highly recommend this. This rod is always with me no matter where I go, all the time. This is the one rod, one reel combo that will do anything. I've thrown spy baits on that presentation before. The next combo that you're gonna need to carry along with you is a spinning setup of some type. This is the TP1 series worms, jigs, and tube rod. It's actually a heavier rod and reel combo. So depending on what waters you're fishing, you may want to change it up, but a spinning rod is going to be a must. Maybe even multiple spinning rods is going to be a must for a co-angler, depending on your waters that you're fishing. Matter of fact, when I was fishing Thousand Islands this past year, I took 2 spinning rods and they were both rigged up with drop shots. It just basically had it rigged up so that I didn't have to stop, waste time retying another drop shot rod. I basically already had one, and then I had one set up with a little bit heavier weight so that I could throw the heavier one out there. If that wasn't working, maybe switch to a lighter one, just to play around with that, because you need to vary your presentations, one from your boater, but just varying your presentations will help you dial in the pattern, because you might not have had as much time as them to fish. You might not have brought your own boat, you might not have a boat, so you need to have a way to truly be fast, effective, and efficient on the water, and having multiple spinning rod setups will allow you to do that. So again, this is the TP1 series 7-foot medium heavy fast action. I've got it paired with a TLP 2000, Team Lose Pro 2000, and you know, it's a fast pickup. Again, back to that fast pickup. If you're winding forever to try to get your line in sometimes when the boater's one ready to go, need you to net a fish, you know, having a little bit faster of a spinning reel combo. But this would also be good for throwing other things. You could throw a spinnerbait or even a buzz bait on this if you needed to, and that pickup is going to be enough for you to keep that buzz bait or something on top of the water if you needed it to throw that. So, but you know, highly recommend the TP1 series by Lose. Definitely check those out if you need to add to your arsenal of rods. Again, the multi-purpose, one of my favorite rods in my whole collection. Okay, so my next tip for you in this series is to just go wacky, guys. Always have a wacky rig presentation ready to go. Matter of fact, I recommend having some type of pants with multiple pockets. I always wear some Eddie Bauer cargo pants that are pretty much active hiking pants, but they're really lightweight, they're comfortable, and they breathe really well. So, you know, I've worn those pretty much throughout the season. I've got them in multiple colors, but the reason I do that is because of the pockets in there. And I don't like the whole baggy denim type material or anything. I like an active pant that can accommodate the different types of weathers and stuff like that. So, you know, but have those wacky rig presentations in your pants pockets ready to go. You know, you can have a bag of Gary Yamamoto Senkos or other type of Senko stick bait style that you can rig up on one rod. And this is where it gets into that multiple presentations that I was talking about earlier. With a wacky rig setup, right? If you have a wacky rig and you can set it up as kind of a weightless Texas rig, then you can flip that over into a wacky presentation. You could also add a nail weight to this and then turn it into basically a shaky head with a Nico rig. Then you could cut down that Nico rig weight and have different types of falls. You could reposition that Nico weight in the worm to have different types of, again, presentations. So use a nail weight for a Nico rig instead of the other kind of like VMC style. Now, I love the VMC style and I use those too, but you could actually have them rigged differently. Maybe even have one rigged with the VMC style nail weight and then have one with the spike type nail weight, or actually a nail weight to go in that worm. But that'll allow you so many presentations just at the drop of a pocket almost. So you just drop down in one of your pockets, pull it out, yank that worm off, put another one on, and you're gone. And you've already changed presentations. You've limited the amount of rods that you're carrying on the boat just by having that one presentation. That one presentation also is probably one of the best presentations in all of bass fishing. The Wacky Rig Senkos caught more fish for more noobs than... That's caught more fish for noobs than a banjo minnow. But that's really where I want to go with that is if you have those presentations already in your pockets, it makes you fast, effective, and efficient, and you can change over into those presentations as your boater moves around, and you're not having to have 3 or 4 other rods with each one of those individually tied on, limiting you in those situations. So go watch some of the other videos that I put together in this playlist about being a co-angler and things that you'll need to do and have on your person when you go and do these co-angler events. Those will really help you get an idea of everything to expect. Matter of fact, one of the videos I did was exactly everything you can expect to go through during your first co-angler event. So that preps you for everything that's going to happen. So that you're going into it with like, okay, this is exactly what Lou said was going to happen, and bam, you know, this is how it went down. Because the whole purpose of this is to get you comfortable, to get you out there on the water so that you can learn and have fun and enjoy fishing. Some of the other items that are really quick, like I said, I've already talked about pockets and how important having just pockets and being able to have those accessible, you know, having your own line snips in your pocket ready to go. Again, check out my other videos. Those have more of that type of essential gear that you need to carry along with you. This one is just more about the tips. And I've already talked about how you need to get your line in as soon as possible. Let's talk about netting the fish real fast. Netting the fish is one of those moments that really probably stresses a lot of co-anglers out. Matter of fact, it stressed me out because what you're doing is essentially sharing the risk, although the risk still lies with the person trying to fight the fish. You know, your boater's up there trying to fight the fish, and that's just one of those stressful situations. Could put a damper on the day, especially if you're down there and you're like, ah! You know, you're swinging and all just going to town on trying to net that fish. You don't want to be doing that. You want to have the net kind of low, ready, but ask your boater how they want it done, because if you do it exactly how they want it done, then you've always got that in your back pocket to say, man, I had the net down there just like you asked. You know, I'm sorry you lost your fish, you know, if that occurs. But, you know, one of the best ways that I've seen to have is just kind of have it low and ready. If you already have it in the water, you have a chance of spooking that fish a little bit sooner. So just having it real low to the water, ready to go, allows you to quickly react and gauge kind of what that fish is doing. And so you can get that down in the water, or you can maybe set it down in the water as they're bringing the fish to you, and instead of being like real high and then having to cover a lot of distance, right? So if you're this far from the water, you just have to cover a little distance. If you're this far from the water, a lot can go wrong in that second that it takes you to go all the way to get that net in the water. So kind of low, ready to go. That's a good way to be with the net. But again, ask your boater, because they may want something different, and you don't want to be knocking off that 5-pounder, that 5 or 6-pounder, because you're karate chopping with the old net down there and knocking off somebody's fish. My next tip in this series is to match your boater. Now, I don't necessarily mean match their presentation. Matter of fact, that's something you probably don't want to do. You want to be throwing something different than what they're doing. You want to be throwing in places that are different than what they're throwing into. I've also seen it to where my boaters come behind people throwing in exactly the same spot as the boat that was there before and picked off fish. Matter of fact, that was one of the best events that I participated in. I caught my best fish of the year during that event, and I really learned a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't get to film because the boater didn't want me filming. Perfectly okay, fully understand that. It's their boat. What I'm trying to say with matching your boater is essentially, if your boater's up shallow, don't be throwing a 6XD and getting that sucker hung up on all wood and all kinds of stuff and be like, hey man, I'm hung up again, or hey man, I'm hung up again. Hey man, I'm hung up. You know how incredibly frustrating that could be to a boater? That's basically going to be something that's going to tick them off and going to make for a not so fun day for the rest of the day if you're that guy who's like constantly getting his bait hung up. So try to match your presentation in a way that's complementary to the way that the boater is fishing. You know, if he's burning the bank at 70% on his trolling motor, 70-80%, you know, trying to sea rig at the same time, probably ain't gonna happen. You're just gonna have to switch over, be versatile with your rod selection, you know, pick up something that's gonna allow you to crank and wind a little bit faster. Or if he's fishing incredibly slow, match your presentations to that. One of the presentations that I didn't mention about a Wacky Rig Cinco could be a Mojo. Come in there, clip a pinch on weight a little bit higher up and automatically you've got a mojo rig. So granted, I don't really like pinching that, but I'm just saying it's an option for you to utilize your rod selection to match what they're doing and not even have to change what you've got tied on. But don't be afraid to throw where they've thrown, because like I've said, I've seen people come behind other people with different types of finesse baits, maybe a smaller Texas rig worm, or again the Wacky presentation. If you're throwing a Wacky presentation behind a boater, you got a pretty darn good chance at making a limit, making a cut, and cutting a check. That's all going to depend on your water, time of year, all kinds of external factors. Just keep that in mind, that these are the tips that will help you be effective, efficient, and most importantly, probably not take off your boater. Unless you're catching a lot of fish behind them, then they're just going to be mad. But that's okay, because that's what you're there to do. You're there to catch fish. You're there to catch fish and learn, but you're not there to catch fish for them. That's on them. Alrighty y'all, so I hope this video has helped you out and given you some tips and tricks to being a productive co-angler. If you haven't seen the other videos that are in this playlist, go check those out. There's a lot of information about essential gear, what to expect when you're going through a co-angler event, so those will really help you out in preparation for your first co-angler event or your upcoming season as a co-angler. And as always, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Y'all have a good one.